times of sharing. DurianASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Grace.
And of course, you are listening with us at DurianASEAN as usual. Today is the first day of June. I can't believe we've been half a year.
It's really fast. Time
Yeah.
really flies. And
Yeah.
a lot of things have happened for the past 5 months.
Mhm.
And then this is the 6th month of 2015. And I wonder how all those people, they had a resolution for year 2015. And then whether they have been executing the plans properly or
Or
not.
they should have like a half-year review. just like how companies would do.
That's a good idea.
So, the 1st of June, Malaysia has been going through quite a horrible year, I suppose, with a lot of issues regarding on human trafficking and all that. But seldom that we hear Singapore is also going through something that is weird. I think it was recently a news about shooting of a man outside a hotel, an Asia Pacific Security Summit in Singapore, which has been briefly placed under lockdown after a police shot a man dead in a security breach. Do you think it's too much?
Too much in a sense that because what exactly happened was they stopped the car somewhere like a couple of days ago and a checkpoint outside of the hotel, then where the International Institute of Strategic Studies Shangri-La Dialogue 2015 was supposed to happen.
Which
and
happened?
It attended by all those leaders and the defense ministers, and that's when all the shooting happened. When driver accelerated after being asked to open the car boot, then it just rammed through the police barricades,
Wow.
and it looks like it was very violent. And then also they were pretty against the law or policies in Singapore, and Singapore is well known for being very organized
And very
strict.
But my question is it justified to end a person's life just because he breached a security checkpoint? I think that's a question that we need to discuss among people in Southeast Asia, because a lot of the time the easiest way, of course, is to kill that person and everything is solved. He could be a potential terrorist, or he could just be a crazy guy or an innocent guy.
But apparently, they found the substances in the car, and then it could be just a drug related, and then it's another case of perhaps a drug trafficking. So they are still under the investigation what exactly happened.
Talking about trafficking, I think the biggest challenge now in Southeast Asia is definitely on human trafficking. But apparently, according to our dear minister, he said that human trafficking camps, the ones in Perlis, can become tourist attraction. I wonder he was just, making a Sunday joke about this.
I don't know where he's coming from. That's the problem. However, human trafficking can be found nearby the Malaysia, especially the Malaysia-Thailand border. That's when he perhaps found to be attracted to turn into tourist attraction, to let people see what happened, and also with this to making a new tourism spot, it will also deter human trafficking activities from taking place. So there is a positive sort of expectation by turning that place into human trafficking. However, that place is also very well known for having human trafficking, so there should be a certain policies made that it should be stopped because of this reason, that we want to turn that place into to attract the tourists.
The problem is the place there is still quite dangerous. The height towards Wang Krian is not the height towards the hill behind your backyard. It's quite a steep height, and a lot of human traffickers would probably be stationing there. Even for the journalists who went up to to Wang Korean, they have to be surrounded by soldiers with M16 just in case if some human traffickers are still there. It's not really a good idea. I want to tell the minister in the Prime Minister Department, Datuk Sri Shahidan Kasim. But at the same time, it is true that we need to learn from the mistake of the past and turning it into maybe not tourist attraction, but a museum or something that people can learn about it. Like anthropologists can study it. I think it's something that would definitely add value to society. But at the same time, he's not really focusing on the core of the situation here. We need to deter human trafficking, and I think this will lead us to another issue regarding on security. This is regarding on the Myanmar issue, because a lot of the refugees and economic migrants that come to Malaysia or come to Thailand shores as well is because they have a lot of problems, either problem of poverty or problem of political insecurities in their own country, and these are issues that ASEAN need to address as a whole. But the next news, Myanmar Navy actually stops reporter approaching migrant island.
And that there are apparently around 700 migrants, and that they are being held following the rescue, which just happened last week. And in fact, last week, the local official from the Hagi Island said the migrants were the Bangladeshis and also will be taken to an area near the Bangladesh border in Rakhine State in the coming days. But what's happening here is the Navy is refused on Sunday, and then also the journalist approach will be limited even more.
I think Myanmar, the way it handles stuff is really dodgy in a way that it doesn't really allow media or aid groups to meet the migrants held at the Tamila Island to verify whether they say they originated from either Bangladesh or Myanmar. But either way, I think what we are seeing right now is Myanmar acting in a very brash way towards the international and regional community, and it doesn't really reflect well with them. Their future of democracy will be forever tainted unless they handle this situation. And reporters who have been trying to access Tamihla Island at the mouth of the Irrawaddy since the authorities announced that more than 700 people, including women and children, have been found drifting in a boat off Myanmar, had been taken there. So if Myanmar wants to be taken seriously, this is one of the core issue that needs to be addressed. And at the same time, talking about addressing core issue, of course, there will be a Mini-Asean summit on human trafficking. So apparently Najib says that Malaysia is willing to be a host, calling for collective action.
And this news will be delivered perhaps after the break, because we'll just discuss more in depth regarding this and also other news from the business and social culture side as well.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Welcome back. This is Grace.
And of course, you are still with us on our ASEAN Daily, where we bring you news from Southeast Asia. Not just news, but commentaries as well. And to continue from our news about human trafficking, we mentioned how Myanmar and Bangladesh is having their own tug of war, whether they want to receive migrant workers and, of course, human refugees as well. While at the same time, there's the issue of mass grave and human trafficking camps that is on the border of Malaysia and Thailand. But how can we solve this? So apparently there's a Mini-Asean summit on human trafficking that will be taking place this month.
And this mini summit ASEAN, they will be focusing mainly on human trafficking. And then, according to Prime Minister of Malaysia, he said this is not the responsibility of one country alone, which is just all those major the migrants are coming from Myanmar. So it's not only the Myanmar's responsibility, but as ASEAN, we need to solve the issues together, and they should be tackled collectively, which is a very good point coming from ASEAN point of view. But at the same time, they really need to, all the leaders need to sit down and really focus on certain issues when it comes to human rights and human trafficking in detail. Because when we had the ASEAN summit in April, it was raised already, but it was not really highlighted throughout the summit period. So it is good that this mini summit of ASEAN is coming to take place soon to solve these problems.
And at the same time, I think what we need to talk about is the issue of both people, especially on the influx of Rohingya refugees and economic migrants from Bangladesh. It was discussed earlier last week in Thailand, organized by some human rights bodies there. But at the same time, Thailand aside, I think Malaysia also need to address the issue of the boat people crisis seriously, because it will be related to human trafficking, like it or not.
And well, it comes to both issues. It's been there for already a couple of months, and then they've been just simply floating at sea, which was very sad and also very horrifying to see all the scenes, especially the social media, all those news about that went really viral, and the public awareness was even higher than it was expected. So it is about time for having such a meeting, and then this is we're talking about the mini summit, ASEAN summit, which is very important. But my question here is, will all those countries participate for this issue to solve this problem properly as being leaders of each ASEAN state? Or will it be just a few countries, for example, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and perhaps Myanmar, just 4 countries who are just focusing on this issue?
I'm interested to know Malaysia's position on this. Will it change? Will Malaysia refuse to discuss on critical issue and treat human trafficking as if it's unrelated to the boat people crisis? Or Malaysia would finally, put its head out of the sand and start to realize that it's related, and it needs to have the leadership to tell Myanmar to do the right thing, which is to not create more political mess that will affect its neighbors. And recently Najib has been giving warnings to Myanmar that it cannot tolerate Myanmar if whatever internal issues is happening there would jeopardize the stability and peace and harmony of its neighbor.
When it comes to human rights issues, right, there's so many issues that's happening regarding this human rights. But my question here is, do all the leaders from ASEAN or are they all aware of the small issues, even the minor issues that's happening to the minority? I mean, Rohingya was minority, and then the issues have been really highlighted, especially because of the media. And then only that's when the leaders stepped in. So all the small matters, will they really care after having this mini ASEAN summit?
What people do not realize is there's a genocide happening in Myanmar, right? Yeah. And according to Phil Robertson, which he will be speaking later on in the program, is that that's a systematic somehow exclusion and also the killing of a minority group of ethnic society in Myanmar right now, and nobody is talking about it seriously and critically. And I think ASEAN needs to take that leadership and somehow recognize this is not just another political instability or discrimination in Myanmar, but it's a real killing field and it's a real genocide that is happening. On the other hand, I think also what Asia needs to play is to increase its role in global affairs. This is according to Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen from Singapore, of course.
And well, Asia in general, they have been playing very vital role in the global marketing, in the economical state. But when you think about Asia, there's so many other countries they have not been really active and functioning properly, and those are the stuff that it also needs to be touched. But when it comes to increasing role of Asia in global trade, we can't also ignore all those the agreements that has been already put it out to the public, and the people have a lot of questions regarding especially TPPA and also RCEP as well.
And what we need to see is Asia taking a stance and playing a vital role, not just in terms of how it interacts with the United States and the Western power, but also in terms of how it can increase its role in the global trade, international finance, and military security, which was, of course, formerly dominated by the West. I think the year of the 21st century is the year of the Asia century, especially this popular ideology that is being exported in Australia recently.
Right. And just to give a little bit of fact, which is China is now the world's second largest economy in the nominal terms, and India GDP has more than tripled since the turn of century, exceeding countries like Canada and Russia. And lastly, Japan is also third largest economy in the world. But however, here, talking about Japan, recently, according to the figure, there are lots of unemployment happening in Japan, and the rate is increasing even higher and higher.
Unemployment.
Yeah, so it's bring a lot of worrisome to the country. So even though Japan is the third largest economy, there are still a lot of unemployment happening. So, well, this is just a fact, but then perhaps we can discuss further in our breakfast shows.
They forgot South Korea, I think.
Well, South Korea, it's another story. Yeah.
But one thing that is interesting to see, if you look at the political dynamics or the economic dynamics of Asia, just if you compare just 30 years ago, 20 years ago, China and India has skyrocketed from just a third world country or country that is trying to exert its power in the global stage to a country that is the leading game changer in a lot of ways. For example, you see India, it is one of the major exporters for human resource, especially in terms of IT and soft skills. They are very good at it. While China, at the same time, is the world manufacturing playground.
Right.
It has cheap labor and now it's also seeing itself as a global player in terms of creating technologies. You see that, of course, the most obvious one would be Xiaomi, but it's more than that. There's a lot of really good technology companies coming up from China. So what we are seeing right now is certainly countries like China and India not being marginalized by the Cold War or sequestered behind the bamboo curtain. They are now the emerging power that the West is scared of, I believe.
Well, talking about the economy, definitely China and India, they are two gigantic countries, and they are growing bigger, and really they are no longer poor anymore. They're growing really drastically and really fast, and sometimes they are being a bit aggressive. They can be looked as very aggressive, but it is a good sign being a part of globalization. And a lot of transactional challenges are also faced by all those countries. However, it is also in the positive notes, all those rising powers, it is to ensure that to have the proper system in economic as well as to maintain the respect among the other countries in Asia.
And besides the issue regarding on agreements, especially TPPA, I think a lot of countries in Asia is still not quite sure where it's standing on TPPA. Besides that, I think globalization has somehow changed how Asia should react to the world, especially when it comes to issues regarding on terrorism, on religion religious extremism, cybercrime, and of course the elephant in the room right now, which is human trafficking. From your point of view, how should Asia be able to tackle all this in a manner that it can somehow be seen as able to have that moral authority as much as the West are having it right now?
It is very tricky because when you think of the Asia in general, we are based on the conservatism, and all those issues
You don't dare
brought
to
up,
interfere with.
they are very reserved in general. That's when I would say, because of the culture and also society crafted all this public, people tend to be more reserved, and that they are not really upfront. Only recently they are being innovative and that they want to voice out their opinions. So perhaps that's when the Asia is standing out slowly to the world and also be part of the globalization. So it will take some time because Asia is really, really huge. And population takes a lot of place here. So it will take some time to tackle these issues properly. And because of the huge population, when it comes to human trafficking or other challenges in human rights, there are so many issues that's happening. So my answer to you is it just takes time. But then people really need to look into giving helping hands to all these issues.
So in a way, it's an evolution.
It is.
It's an evolution for for China, India, Japan, ASEAN, and other countries within the Asia Pacific to play a critical role in this. We'll take another short break. When we return, we will focus on the lighter side of the news, which is social, cultural, and society.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
And you're with Grace.
And of course, you're with us again on ASEAN Daily. This time we focus on business and social cultural. And regarding on business, of course, business, regional security are top agendas on President Aquino's trip to Japan. In the past, Malaysia and Indonesia has visited Japan, and of course they have a lot of trade deals that they have been made. But for the Philippines, I think their focus is more towards regional security.
And it's very interesting because when it comes to security, a lot of countries do visit Japan. And perhaps it's also because of the regulation and the policies that Japan has already put on a very good example. And the deputy presidential spokesman, Abigail Verte, he said apart from the bilateral meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, other high-ranking Japanese officials, including the Emperor and the President Aquino, is scheduled to meet with a Japanese businessman as well. And that's something to look at when it comes to economical status, as well as to have the relationship, build a better relationship with Japan and also other countries.
So even though Japan is having a bit of economic slowdown, but it's still very much it's expanding itself, looking at newer markets, and Southeast Asia is one of it. But at the same time, security agendas is also top of what the agenda is supposed to be. Among the agenda of security, probably would be the most important one is the South China Sea. Of course, we will report more about this on the South China Sea. And on other areas that I think would be good for the Philippines, of course, areas to strengthen their foreign direct investment, especially when the Philippines is seeing the ASEAN Economic Community as something that they will benefit in the future. Besides that, talking about social cultural news, President Jokowi is urging for a total revamp of Football Association.
Right.
There you go. They want to be the best in Southeast Asia. I think our Malaya Tiger Malaya, Harimau Malaya needs to somehow get a bit on their toes on this news.
So it looks like finally President Jokowi has stepped into the football area as well, and then to improve its function and performance as well. So Indonesia football team achievement in the past decades, perhaps the president has looked into it, the oldest historical the records as well. So according to him, he said a complete revamp means the total reform of its organization, system, and management. When it comes to football, it's very systematic and very organized. It comes with a lot of training, and also all the teams are needed the public fund to support them, because it comes with a lot of budget planning, and then not only the training but also management. So at the players level, he thinks that they have to perform well, but they still need to improve. So Jokowi is seeing the football as another investment in Indonesia. So Indonesia did not qualify for the World Cup. I don't think I remember seeing Indonesia or Malaysia also in the World Cup for the longest time.
But I want to just highlight on the World Cup. Indonesia never qualified for the World Cup, but before this, when they were still part of the Dutch company, they actually were qualified for the World Cup, but under a different name, and that was back then in the early 30s. 1930s.
Well, that's also going back to the historical side. But according to him, in the Asian Football Confederation, AFC, it only reached the first round in 2004, but it not qualified in 2011. And also FIFA World Rankings, Indonesia stood at the 156th position in 2012, but it went down in 2013, which they ranked into 161, and also 2014, 159. So it is just about that the range.
And you can imagine where Malaysia stand. Probably worse than that, or at the same par as well. I think when it comes to Southeast Asia, our football is still very much lacking in terms of quality, in terms of efficiency, and the way associations are being formulated. They say that if you want to have a good football association, the best way is to look at Japan and Korea, the way they create leagues where they can encourage grassroots, especially young people from the grassroots, to be trained and to be professional footballers within just a short span of a few years.
And when it comes to Indonesia, perhaps they can get the examples from South Korea and Japan. But at the same time, Indonesia has a huge population. So it's also perhaps the time for the government to dig out the talent. And then take advantage of this huge population in the country. But it is a very good news, because if the government comes into the place and the football, any kinds of sports, it can grow and it can improve. And then the training session, all this efficiency and the management system will be there with the fund.
And at the same time, to create as many leagues as possible. If you compare Japan and South Korea with countries like Malaysia or Indonesia, the level of professional, from amateurish to professional leagues, is still very much 2 or 3 leagues. But in countries like South Korea and Japan, they have multiple leagues. They even have district. They have as small as your own community leagues. That's the way to encourage grassroots youth to be able to be part of the football community, and to be and talents can be identified from the ground. On the other hand, talking about football before we end the show is regarding on the FIFA scandal and conspiracy.
Well, the FIFA president, Sepp Blatter, is the victim of conspiracy from behind the scenes. Apparently, his daughter has told the BBC amid the corruption crisis gripping the world football, it's going pretty viral on social media, especially because the Blatter, Mr. Blatter, who has been re-elected as FIFA president, has not been implicated but faced calls to step down. And he beat the rival Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan on Friday last week in an election that was overshadowed by the arrest and the corruption allegations.
I rest it in there. Hopefully FIFA can revamp itself, because the scandal is not new. Corruption is not new. It has been discussed by a lot of football fans how FIFA is itself need to be revamped to be more transparent, clean, and of course follow the spirit of footballing in a way. So we will keep up with the news on FIFA, and hopefully that that there will be a new leader emerging
Right.
from this. We will take one short break. When we return, of course, it will be our next segment, which is the Monday Morning Matters. Stay tuned.
All right.